everybody. Uh, we are just thrilled to have Dino do a presentation for us again. Dino has really been helping out just a ton of small businesses during the pandemic, and often he does it at no charge. So Dino really needs a big hand. Helping people has been his major focus. So thanks, Dino.
Thank you,
And
Michael.
I turn it over to you.
I wish everybody felt that way. Everybody wants more.
We all do.
Just say thank you, Michael. That's all.
That's your
Thank you,
boundaries.
Michael.
That's your boundaries.
Well, good morning, everybody. I think Michael asked me to do this morning because he was tired of hearing me in my frustration with all of my messaging and updating on messaging and that sort of thing. So asked me to kind of share along with what it is that I've kind of been doing for Business Growth Simplified. So this morning I'm actually going to share with you. This is actually an old presentation. Okay. What I guess I want to start with and let everybody know is a lot of people would dive into this and say, oh, this is something I need to do. But from a Business Growth Simplified perspective, this is not strategic. This is very tactical. You have to approach it from a strategic perspective. But when it gets right down to it, this is, and it's very critical. So I'm not downplaying it, but I think a lot of people don't necessarily think of these things and how it connects in with 100 other things that you do, and that's really kind of what makes, I think, messaging and people understanding really what branding and marketing and all those other kind of things are, because a lot of times people throw terms around and I don't think it necessarily gives people the best understanding of what's going on. So this morning, that's what I want to kind of cover with you. So I guess let's get started by, I'm not going to be able to get started because my slides aren't going to advance the way that I want. Yeah, I'm going to have all kinds of problems this morning. I have, so. Okay, so let's start by what really kind of makes marketing so hard. Because messaging is really kind of part of your marketing. Okay, what is marketing? Marketing is really kind of communicating to the world what it is that you have to offer. So obviously there's a very important part of that, because if people don't know what you do, it's difficult, to get any business from that. But what makes marketing hard really is there's so many variables that influence it. I find that a lot of times what confuses business people, I don't understand marketing. It's not as difficult as you think, because the simplicity really of it is that it's the way that you communicate to the marketplace. What makes it difficult, though, is there's so many variables that influence it. There are things that you need to measure as you're kind of putting and communicate, putting your word out there and communicating to the world. And people don't know what they should be, what they should be tracking. And so what are the metrics that really need to go into that? So I want to talk a little bit about that this morning as well. And they're always grasping for tactics. So people want to know, well, I want to know how to use Instagram. I want to use Facebook. I want to use this. I want to use that. It's like, time out. What you really need to understand is if you don't have a strategy, the tactics that you use are meaningless. Okay. And what I mean by that is the strategy drives your tactics. Once you select a strategy, the strategy will tell you what it is that you need to do. And so if you're grasping for tactics, but you don't even know what your strategy is, then basically you're attempting to do something without having a purpose or a reason why you're doing it. So you want to be careful, make sure that you're really understand what it is you're doing and why beforehand. So next you need to understand, well, who's your target? So, the who, what, when, where, why, and how do you speak to them? That how do you speak to them is your message. And that's really where it is that we want to get to. But you need to understand all those other factors, or it makes it very difficult for you to understand specifically what that message needs to be. Okay, so I want to kind of give you a little bit of the background so that you understand why it is that we want about in the process that I've kind of put together for doing this. And it's things that I've picked up over the years, as well as I had a mentor early on in my career because I wasn't a good marketer when I first got out of the Air Force. But Richard kind of took me under his wing and taught me a lot of what it is that he knows. And what was interesting about him was he had a doctorate degree in sports psychology. So if anybody knows marketing well, it's somebody that's got a psychology degree, because marketing really is psychology. So, all right. So the next thing you need to figure out is, are you connecting with the right people? Okay. If you're connecting with people, then there are two things that you need to be doing. And this is why it becomes really kind of difficult when you're doing marketing. You need to balance that money and time factor within the two things. And there's two main, there's hundreds of metrics. Okay. If you talk to marketing specialists and marketing experts, they'll tell you, there are dozens of things that you should be measuring. But the two most important that I think, if you don't understand these two factors, it becomes difficult to understand why your marketing or your message is working or why it's not. Okay. And those two factors are effectiveness and efficiency. Okay. So effectiveness, really, that metric tells you, are you talking to the right people in the right places? Okay. And the factors that you're really looking for, because you hear people talk about conversions all the time, right? We've all heard that term kind of thrown out there. Conversions, but you want to get the right conversions. So in other words, the number of leads. So how many times is a phone call, is the phone ringing? How many inquiries are you getting online if you've got an online form? Whatever it is, however people are finding you, how many people are finding you? And of those, how many of those are actually turning into opportunities? Okay. It's not just how many leads. So how many of those people that contacted you actually bought from you? Okay. There's a step in between that, and you need to understand that other step. And this is why that is so critical. And I wanted to talk about that up front. And that was one of the factors I think that or one of the things that what you're measuring between how many of those leads were actually interested in you and ask you for a quote, a price, whatever it was that you offered, as opposed to just selling. Because if I don't have people that are at least interested in what it is that I'm offering, then that means I'm talking to the wrong people, or my message is not bringing the right people to me. Okay. And that's critical. That effectiveness is really what it is that will tell you, am I on point or am I off point with my message? Okay. And I think a lot of times people don't measure that piece. They're not looking at that. They don't understand it. And so they don't know, and they're changing the way that they're talking or the message that they're using with their audience And it confuses the audience when you use lots of messages, lots of different ways or whatever, and you're not measuring and understanding who am I talking to, and am I having the right conversation with those people. Okay. The other one, efficiency, then, is what you grasp for later. Effectiveness is important on the front end. Once I know I'm getting, I'm getting lots of people. So 10 people come to my website, or 10 people call me or contact me in some way, shape, or form. And when I have an initial conversation with them, they're interested in what it is that I have, and I get the opportunity to sell to them. Okay. If that happens 10 out of 10 times, I've got good marketing effectiveness. That means I'm talking to the right people, and it's bringing them to me, and they're the people that I want to be talking to, that I can actually sell to. I see people all the time that get tons of business cards, get tons of leads, but they don't turn into anything. That means they're not bringing the right people to the company. Okay. And that's important to note, because that means I have the wrong message, or I'm talking to the wrong audience. Okay. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier. I should be on Instagram. I should be on Facebook. Well, where do the people that you need to be talking to, where do they consume information about what it is that you have to offer? Okay. So that's critical to understand those factors beforehand. Okay. Now, once I understand that, why, again, I said, marketing is hard. Why is it so hard? Well, because the next thing you need to really do is test everything. Okay. And there's lots of different pieces to your message, obviously. Where you put that message, what is the actual headline that you say? What is the actual words that you're communicating? What's that message that you're doing? In a lot of cases, you're using visual cues and you're using graphics and things like that. What's the offer that you're doing? So you see, there's lots of different, this goes back to that many variables that I was talking about before. And the ... mean there are lots of other little tiny subtleties as well that you can get into, and marketing experts know what those things are, and they'll work with you to try and figure out what those things are. The problem is, most small business owners, they try one thing, it doesn't work, and they throw everything out. You can't do it that way. Okay. You have to change one thing at a time, test it, determine if that worked. Did it increase your effectiveness or decrease your effectiveness? And then swap it out, try something else. Okay. And you got to keep testing until you stumble upon what the right one is that gives you the right efficiency and effectiveness that you're looking for. And then you move on. And now I've created a marketing system for my business. And I know if I do this, I get this result as a result of that. Okay. And that's that whole systemization of that. Well, if I got to test my marketing, what does that mean? I'm probably going to be spending lots of time, lots of money in order to do that. Most people don't do that. They just throw it out the door, or they abdicate it to somebody else that's going to do it for them, but they haven't given them, what is it that I'm really trying to achieve here? And as a result of that, I get into problems. So where do we start? So Business Launcher is one of the programs. It's the program for startups that we're going to start promoting here within the Florida Business Incubator. Okay. This is our program specifically for startups. And I'm going to take you through the part of this that is different from Business Growth Simplified. It's not really different. It's an add-on to Business Growth Simplified. Business Growth Simplified was originally designed really for businesses that were already operating, and how to help them to become, to grow into a self-sustaining business. When I'm in a startup stage, I'm still trying to figure out a lot of things. And so Business Launcher actually includes what we call the business model canvas. And what the business model canvas helps you to do is to create that business that you actually need, and helps you to focus on, systematizing what it is that you offer so that you can replicate it and scale it. And this is what allows you to get to that level of self-sustainability that you hear me talk about all the time. Now, within the business model canvas, there are two boxes that are critical to what we were talking about in your messaging, okay? And those are what we call the value proposition, okay? The value proposition is that middle box, and the box all the way to the right in this graphic, okay? And you'll notice that there's some other little fancy little things in that actually is a specialized canvas that was developed by the folks that developed the business model canvas, specifically for figuring out what's your value proposition, okay? Your value proposition is what? It's your message. It's how you communicate what you offer to your target customer, and how, and communicating that in a way that they understand what the perceived value is for that, and will pay you what it is that you kind of, that you're looking for all that. So what I'm going to focus on here is just quickly taking you through this to understand how this works and what are the things that you really need to be focused on as you're kind of going through this process. And then we'll give you some simple tools that you can use to begin to kind of collect the information that you need to really kind of fill this thing in and really understand what should I be saying to the marketplace, okay? So if you'll notice, there's two pieces to this. The first piece of this is you need to understand your customer. So who is your customer? There's three basic pieces to this thing, okay? The first, is what's your customer's point of view, okay, and perspective. What are the things that they want to avoid, and what are the things that they gravitate to? So, what are their pains? What are their gains? And then with the person itself, you want to understand, functionally, what is it, the things that are important to them, what's their social and emotional state that you want to have them in that really kind of gravitates to them, and really kind of go from there. So, that functional aspect is important. A lot of times you'll hear people as they're kind of talking about this, what are the demographics of your customer? That's really what they're talking about here. But you need to get even deeper than that, because a lot of what it is that marketing really kind of focuses on is the emotional aspect of things. So, you almost have to become a psychologist to become a really good good marketer. And
say more about what you mean by functional, please.
So functional would be, what does that person do? Okay. So what is that customer that you have? Functionally, what is it? In my case, it's a business owner. So the function that they have is what? They should oversee and be the leader of that particular organization that they're leading, right?
I have a question.
Sure. Go ahead, Kathy.
So business owner, there are a lot of business owners.
That's right.
So what comes to mind for me is that is too broad.
Yep.
If you just say business owners. So
Right.
if you don't specify what specific business owners that you actually can help with, then you are probably sending the wrong messages, or your messages aren't connecting to the people that you want, because you're trying to serve too many people. That's just the same thing on the consumer side, right?
Right.
If you're sending a message out to anybody and everyone instead of women through, whatever,
Right.
then you won't land with them.
Right. And so thank you, Kathy, because that's a good transition. So that's why the other two pieces of this customer are so critical. Okay. So the first one is, what are the pains? So what are the things that the customer wants to avoid? What are the negative outcomes? What are the challenges? What are the obstacles? What are the risks? So if I've identified, at least in general, who it is, now I'm trying to refine that and really understand what makes that person that I have tick. Okay. So, I mean, Kathy, you'll get this because you kind of came from the Tony Robbins world. I mean, all of this stuff is all about, we all operate off of one thing. We try to avoid pain, right? And we seek out and try to look for pleasure. And so the pains and gains are the two aspects I need to understand. So I've identified, in general, who is it that I deal with? And then I want to look at, what are the negative outcomes that they want to avoid? What are the challenges that they have that they try to avoid? Okay. What are those obstacles? What are the risks that they have? What are the things that they find painful that they try to avoid, so that I can address those things as a part of what it is that I offer, okay, to them. Same thing. What are the things that a customer wants, or how is it that they evaluate success, that I've successfully help them to overcome whatever that pain is that I've got. Okay, so these are, what are those desired achievements that they may want? What are the benefits or aspirations that they look for, and those kind of things. So if we understand these things, and again, we're going to address them in a minute, but what it is that we're really looking for here is, this is what's allowing me now to go back to that customer and say, okay, if I know what it is that they avoid and what they want, does this give me a better idea as to who this person is, and allow me to figure out emotionally what is it that they're looking for? Okay, socially, what is it that they're looking for? And these are the specific pains and gains that they want. And so that gives you a better idea as to, now, how do I go about doing this? Okay, how do I go about figuring this stuff out? Well, I got to gather information about that target audience that I have. And so if I have some general idea of who those people are and what I believe that they want, now I got to go out, I have to canvas those people. So I have to go out and have conversations and interview people, and I got to look at, why do they buy from whoever it is, or a customer like who it is that I've got? What are maybe 3 things that you like about those kind of customers, those kind of companies? Okay. What are a few things that I could do better as a company? So I'm gathering information in open-ended questions like this. And I don't want to use surveys are the worst way to do this, because what I do is I box people in to checking off things that I made a decision off of. I always tell people, you want to use open-ended questions. You want to ask those and listen to what it is that they're doing, because over time, if you interview enough people, what will begin to percolate as a part of that process as I'm developing this message is, I'm going to begin to see patterns form. They're going to use similar kind of words. They're going to use similar phrases. They're going to have similar kinds of pains or gains that they're looking for. That as I see people that keep saying the same thing over and over and over again, those are words and phrases that I should be using in my messaging. Those are things that I should be talking about to my audience, okay? And this is the process that you use in order to do that. Does that make sense? I mean, I'd like to get some input and some feedback from folks at this point.
Yes, but how do you get those folks?
Well, and again, I mean, where do those folks hang out is part of, that's part of that research that you have to look for. Like I say, I mean, some of it is just walking around talking. If you think, if you've had conversations with people, said, yeah, that's a good idea, or if you're an existing business, who do you want to do this with?
Okay.
Your past customers, okay? Who are your best customers? And I want to have these conversations with those best customers, because I want to know, why do they do business with me? I'm going to hear those consistent patterns and the things that they want. Then I have to look at the messaging that I'm using currently in my marketing, and is it saying those things about my company? Okay, what are 3 things that they like about my company? Am I talking about consistently those things that they consistently are saying, my best customers? Because what I'm doing is I'm refining that message in a way that allows me to speak directly to the people that I already know are my best customers.
So Dino, to Michael's point, this is all geared towards startups.
No,
Well, we talked at the beginning how
this process,
especially for
the process
let me
is the same.
Let me finish my question then. So you just misinterpreted. This is supposed to help startups.
Well, Business
And
Launcher does.
Huh?
Business Launcher does.
Is this process usable by a startup?
Yeah, this process is usable by anybody.
Okay. So Michael just asked, how do you get these people to interview? The people who are your customers. When you're a startup, you don't have existing customers.
Yeah,
And what if your demographic or your psychographic is, say in Michael's case, is such that you can't just walk into a pub and find a bunch of your clients there?
Yeah, but if you've done any research whatsoever as a startup, okay, if you don't know where to find the customers that you have, guess what? You haven't done enough research about what it is. You shouldn't even be starting a business at that point. So, the main thing is what do you think you're going to want? And again, my intent today wasn't to talk about startups necessarily. It was to talk about messaging, because this is something, if anybody that's running a business right now that isn't sparking on all cylinders, this is the reason why. You're probably not talking to the right people. So you're ineffective. Your message is not effective, okay? And you're spending probably more time and money than you need to be because you're talking to the wrong people, and you're not saying the right things to within the right, those few people that may be in that group that really are your best customers. Okay. So this process is actually the same no matter what. The reason I pulled this out to say is because, look, everybody's been waiting for Business Launcher, and we wanted to get started with this stuff and everything else. So I just brought that out just to basically say, look, this is a part of startups, but if you're an ongoing business, you're going to use the same problem if we target and figure out, well, the reason where you have a problem within your operation is you're not getting enough leads in the door. So you have a marketing problem. Okay, well, if I have a marketing problem, how do I fix that marketing problem? Well, the first thing I got to do is I got to look at, am I talking to the right people, and am I sending the right message to them? And so this same process you're going to use, but who are the people you're going to talk to? If I'm a startup, I've at least identified who I think I'm going to, and I got to find those companies and have a conversation with them. If I already am in business and I have customers, I'm going to have that same conversation, but that conversation is going with customers that I already have, because I want to know, what do they like about me? Why did they buy to me? And I want to make sure that the message that I'm putting out into the community is speaking directly to those people with the things that my best customers already got. Because what do I want my marketing to do? Find more of my best customers for me. Not any customer. I want to find specifically who it is that I want that are already my best customers. So I have that information. This process helps me to tap into that so they can become more effective at that communication process. Does that make sense?
Dino, so
Yep.
My customers typically hang out on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So that's where I would do my testing.
Absolutely. That would be a good place for you to, I would start obviously by having those conversations with those customers that you already have. Okay. And I typically tell, when I'm working with a client, and we're not sure, and I'm asking those questions, and it doesn't seem to be, I asked them, why is it that your customers buy from you? Well, I said, have you asked them that? I mean, have you gotten reviews? If you've gotten reviews online and that sort of thing, you can look at that and see what are the things that your customers in those reviews have consistently said about you, and compare that. Is that the message that you're sending to the marketplace? Because if you already have customers that have bought from you and have been happy with the service that you provide, there's more people that are looking for that. But you're not going to find them if you're not telling them this is what you're going to get if you do business with our company. So that's why it's critical that your message needs to say those things that are, the best things about what it is that your customers like about you. Okay.
Got
Now
it.
once I understand that, the other side of this thing is to look at that and say, okay, so now let's develop what is our offering. Okay. How do we solve those problems that people have, or what do we deliver that helps them to get those things that they want? Okay. So what are those pains, okay, that are a part of our product, and what are the gains that they get as a result of what it is that we do? So how do we eliminate or reduce whatever that pain or risk is? How do we take away those challenges? How do we help them get over those obstacles? How do we help them to make their life easier by doing what it is that we do? Okay. And you can use this, obviously you use that input that you got because you understand what are the customers, what are the things that they're trying to avoid? What is the things that they feel are standing before them and having what it is that they want, and that sort of thing. And what we're going to do is now we're going to begin to put together and talk about what it is that we offer in a way that shows them how they can get what they want, okay, those gains that we offer, and achieve and get those benefits and aspirations based off of what it is that we do. So how we put those two pieces together now is we're going to look at those. We're going to look at both sides of this, and we're going to map back and forth, and we're going to say, these are the things that my customer wants. These are the things that the customer's trying to avoid, and this is the way that we map those things. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to map directly back to the things that we have, that the customer wants, and tie our offering, whatever that service or product is, directly back to those people. And that's what allows us to then begin to better communicate with that audience. Okay. And then there's a good way that I kind of tell people that makes this a little bit easier is to do what we call value mapping. So take those pains, take the gains. What are the personas, so what are the different types of people that we've identified that may be from that, and what specifically in each of those, how do we communicate about our product back against how we help them overcome that, okay, or how we help them to achieve that gain that they've got. So it's just honing in on this, and the difficult part of this really is that there can be lots of different people that I need to talk to, and they all want different things, right? That's what complicates that whole messaging process. And so in some ways, you may have to have many different messages, okay? And each one of the pages maybe on your website or the type of collateral that you're passing out has to talk about each one of those things, okay?
Well, if I could jump in there.
Sure.
Because this is one of the things that I struggled with for a long, long time, is I thought I knew what people needed.
Right.
And yet it was a blind spot to them. It happens specifically when you have an intangible product or
Right.
an intangible thing to deliver. So, I mean, if you have, like we have in my townhome community, we have a Facebook group.
Right.
And all the time, the people that live in this community are posting, hey, I need a recommendation for a garage door person, or I need, a recommendation for an AC thing. And people are, oh, it's just even our group. I mean, if there was a way for a home services person to get into our group, then they would make a killing just on the referrals from this group.
Right.
But with service type businesses, some in particular, I mean, if you know you need a service that is like bookkeeping or something like that, people can grasp that because it's that. But I have explored, if you're selling leadership, that is a hard one to just get people to know that they need, because it's a blind spot. And that wasn't me saying that. That was me asking other people who actually specialize in marketing. And it's kind of, you're doing a lot of education on the front end, and it's a harder and longer sales and marketing cycle than something that's, people grasp right away.
Yeah, I mean, and this is why that process is so critical, Kathy, is because if you don't understand that person, you don't know how to communicate to that person. And so again, you think you know what it is that they're looking for, but it's not resonating with them because it's not necessarily the pain that they have. Okay.
Yeah, it's not.
It may be something completely different than what you think. And so you're talking to them, but they're not hearing you because you're not saying the right thing that resonates with that particular person.
Right. It might be something like, oh gosh, I have a struggle in communicating to my team.
Right.
And that's their pain point. But if you're not talking like that, then you're going to miss that connection with that target person.
Right.
Kathy, I think the difference there, and I just went down that road like a split second before you said that. The difference is this is marketing, and we're not sitting face-to-face to a person. Sitting face-to-face to a person, that becomes sales.
I get the difference. I don't know what your point is.
So, okay. So Dino, for example, is saying we need a list of gains, and we're gonna market to those gains. We're gonna put out messages that say we offer this gain. Right?
Are you saying a game is a physical product? I'm not sure. I'm still not sure. See, this is how important communication is, because Paul knows exactly in his head what he's trying to say, but it's not reaching me.
You're G me, right?
Okay, so a gain
G-A-I-N. Okay, I heard G-A-M-E like a product.
I did too.
Okay, gain. G-A-I-N-S. In particular, gains, to go along with Dino's little smiley faces.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we're going to send out messages for every one of our gains, our benefits, right? And so I'm sitting here thinking, well, you don't want to do that with an individual, because you want to only find out what the thing that they want, right? You offer the thing that they want. You wouldn't do it with an individual. But in the marketing world, where you're broadcasting your message, so you're sending out all of these gains, and I guess at that point you're hoping that you'll hit. No, you're not hoping. You will either hit the people who are looking for those things,
right?
Or if you hit people who aren't looking for those things, they'll be gone, and that's fine, because that's not what you're looking for.
Ding, 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 ding.
And moving on. That's the whole
Moving on.
No, Paul's got the right idea. That's exactly what it is. Okay. See, the problem is most people think, well, I can help everybody.
No.
Well, you may be able to, but everybody may not want help. So what your message is supposed to do is to find the people that want help and bring them to you so that you can have a rational conversation with them and sell them as to how it is that they see enough value in what it is that you offer. That's why I use offer here instead of saying service or product. It doesn't matter what it is, okay? If they get the benefit that they're looking for, okay, or the gain that they're looking, or the pain that they're trying to it's going to allow them to avoid the pain, they're going to see value in that. Then it's not a.
And so there's another little distinction that I'd
Yep.
like to share that I'm not an expert, but one thing that I've learned is that in the psychology world, people will first think of how can I avoid this pain? So
Yep.
pains are short term.
Term, right.
Get me out of this pain. And then they'll go to their gains.
Right.
So if your messaging is all gains and it doesn't address the pains
Right.
and the pains first and big and
Right.
loud, then you won't reach them either.
Well, and
And
now
I have a big problem with that.
Well, and that's your
that's your problem.
Paul.
Well, the issue
But you
is,
gotta
my
get over
problem is, how do it just seems so evil for me to go after the pains that people have for the space that I deal in.
I get
Not
it. I
going after
struggled
them.
with that
I'm
too.
sorry, that's the
because
whole
I'm
deal,
like,
dude.
I'm here to help, not make them feel
Well,
worse.
One
But
at a time.
I know, because I heard really good stuff in simul stereo here.
So, what were you saying?
There's
Me?
Kathy, I think Dick. Who else?
Well, what I was saying is this is quite simple. Find the pain, provide the solution, make the money. Sorry, that's why I boiled it all
That's how
down
easy
to
it is.
like
It's true.
30 years ago.
Yep.
Hmm.
And I do teach leadership and accountability across the country. So I understand how this works.
Right.
What I will tell you is right now in my line of work, most people do not want to hear those words, accountability and leadership. So I've had to try to find new words that mean the same thing that don't scare people away.
Right.
There
Yep.
you go.
and those are just two little words.
Right.
Yeah, and I have a thought here when it comes to this concern about as if you're attacking or going after the pain, that the whether or not you go in that direction doesn't mean whether or not it exists. The pain, the issues are there, and it's not that you're attacking the person because of them. You're offering a solution, and they avoid those things they need the solution for because they don't have the solution. So when you are offering you're not hitting them over the head and saying, you're in pain, and you've got to stay there. You're saying, I see an issue, I have a solution. And so I don't see it as attacking. I see it as partnering.
I totally. I don't know how we got attacking in this thing, but yes, it's not attacking. The thing is, you can market to the positive, or you can market to the negative. And you're right. I've heard all the studies about how the negative is way more powerful. It gets people to move. I've also heard that's becomes a brand at that point also.
It does, and that's the brand that has been promoted the most. As a speaker across the country, I will tell you that to be a great speaker in today's world, you've got to have a poor little old me story where
Right.
you came up from the bottom and it's all great and wonderful. Well, you know what? That only plays to about 7% of the people,
Right.
but that is what is being heard. So that's what I'm saying is it's the words that we use. And what Dino's trying to say is you've got to try out which words work for
Right.
what you're trying to do.
Well, I would offer as well, if the poor me story, rags to riches stories meets 7% of the people,
Yep.
then you shouldn't, if they're not your audience, if you
right.
aren't trying to match that audience, that 7%, then don't tell that kind of a story, right? But if you want to get, like for leadership and accountability, they might want to say, get to the next level, right? They're thinking, I want to get up there. And so that's different languaging.
Well, and,
But-
and now you understand why this is, people say, I want to do my message. I want to work on my message. They think this is just something that I'm going to, sit down for an hour in the afternoon and I'm going to pump it out. And that's all that it is. And it's like, dude, if that's the approach that you're thinking of taking,
It's not going to work.
you're going to miss the mark big time. I mean, I've been working on this for years and years and years. Okay. We finally stumbled upon something that we think that seemed to resonate with people, and we've started to change that. For the last 3 weeks, I've had to change everything on every page on every website that I have, because that message is different than the message that we've been promoting and that we've been kind of pumping out there and communicating to the world for years now, and that's,
I mean, just as some new words that I've heard, so in the business to business world, I want to scale my business.
right.
That's a hot word. I
Yeah,
want to innovate. That's a hot word.
right.
Hot words come up, and then, if you're not using them, you're not kind of in their mindset to resonate with them.
Right. You're
Are
not
those the
speaking-
people you're looking for, though?
That's what you
Well,
have
that
to
depends. I
understand.
mean, that was just
Right.
an example.
So Dino, how do you test for the right words?
Well, that's why I go back to that interview process and really asking. And I'm happy if anybody that wants to. I've got a it's a short script. It's like, it doesn't even take up a quarter of a page. There's 5 questions that you ask. I was asking those questions earlier, so feel free to reach out, or I'll give those and you guys can make it available on.
Right, and you've got a
FBII
way
plan.
doing that online. Can you walk us through that?
What do you mean doing that online?
The way that you test your messaging online.
Yeah, so I mean, the main thing is finding what those words are, just like what Kathy just talked about. What are the words that are resonating with people, or that people are using to describe what it is that you do, or that you believe that are being used in those circles of those people that are talking about whatever it is that you're doing. Again, it's all research and finding out what those things are, and then begin to use those words with headlines and things like that you're posting, and then that's what you're measuring. You're trying to figure out what are the things that people tend to gravitate towards, or that they're commenting on, or that they're engaging with you for. I mean, and then you have to understand, it's not just, so they may engage with the message, but you have to make sure then, or you have to figure, is that person really the person that I want to be talking to? So that's the other aspect of it, I mean, and I guess the way that you figure that out is, did you close that deal?
Right.
And if you did close that deal, then,
Right. You came up with the title Business Launcher as part of your marketing through having a Facebook contest.
Yep.
That is actually market testing that
Right.
you were doing. Could
Right.
you walk us through that process?
Sure. I mean, so what we did for the market, for the business launcher was, we started by testing out, we had, I don't know, dozens of different names that we were thinking about, words that we were thinking about using, and that sort of thing. And, we started putting that out there. We started asking people what they thought, interviewing people that we thought would be our customers. So, I mean, that's why we came to you guys, Michael. FBII was going to be one of our customers. You guys said you guys were interested in that. Okay, well, I mean, here's some different ideas of things or ways that we, titles that we want to put on this thing. What do you like? Oh, well, this seemed, we like this, we like that. Okay. We did that in a lot of different places. We tested it on Facebook. We tested it on LinkedIn. I talked to organizations that were startup organizations, because that's the target. It's startups. Which of these things resonate? And consistently, the whole idea or the concept of launching, with something, and it was a business. So, what am I launching? A business. It resonated. It was simple. It was easy to use. Okay. So let's take that now and let's turn that into a logo, So, I put the things that we were looking and what it was associated with, and we created a spec that we put on 99 designs, and, for $299, I got 70 plus different logos created for us or whatever. And, most of you guys know during that time frame, things that we were liking, I was giving people feedback, and they kept changing what it was that they were doing. As we got ones that kind of look cool, we put them out there, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and we said, which of these things do you like, and the ones that pulled the most, we knew were resonating with who the audience actually was. And that's, we refined that down, got it down to the last 3. And then I actually sent out to all of my customer lists, the 800 people that are on our newsletter list or whatever, and said, hey, which ones do you like the best? And the logo that we ended up with, it was amazing. It was almost 8-1 in terms of the people liking that one over the other 3 that we came up with. And it's like, okay, so it's resonating with the right audience, with the people that we've got, the message is right. Now, we've got to take that and, who are the folks that we really want to talk with or be talking to, and what are they listening for, and that sort of thing. And, we're beginning to have that conversation now. So this isn't something that you just, it's an evolutionary process, and you got to look at it that way. If you're somebody that, has got to have something that's hard, OCD people don't do real well with this kind of stuff because they want something definitive now, and it's difficult, to say this is going to evolve over time, and we got to be listening. And I found that to be the case. In 30 years, we've changed what it is that we've done probably 8 different times. We're still helping business owners, but what it is that they needed and what they wanted changed depending on what was happening in the environment, what's going on in the marketplace, how's the economy happening or whatever. And we need to be speaking to what they're looking for, and that we can help them with those things. It goes back to what Dick was saying, what's the pain? Yeah.
Dino, I'm going to challenge you on that.
Yeah.
Because you are still helping all these business owners, and it's a wide net. And so you're always trying to play whack-a-mole.
No.
But if you...
No.
Okay, you can disagree.
I know who
I'm learning from the people way up here, and that's what they're advising is quit trying to play whack-a-mole.
I'm not playing whack-a-mole. I'm not playing
That's
whack-a-mole.
what it
I know what my
appears to be.
message is. I know what my message is and who I'm looking for. There are millions of business owners. The only ones that I'm interested in and I want to talk to are who are the people that want to have what it was that they originally wanted when they started their business. Okay? What was your dream? Independence and financial freedom. If you want those things, this is how you get it. Okay? And I'm very upfront and blunt with people. People say they want that all the time. Then these are the things that you need to do. If you're unwilling to do those, then you will not have that outcome. And that's my message.
But you just shared, at least what I heard, was you share what's going on in the marketplace right now. And then you message that is what I heard.
No, I'm talking to those people that are trying to achieve, that want to create a self-sustaining business. Okay. But what are they struggling with? That what they struggle with in the marketplace changes over time. And so if I'm not helping them with those things that they're struggling with at that point in time, then I'm going to lose those people, right?
Right, Dino, your message hasn't changed.
No.
Message not being the words. The message is underneath the words. It's hidden in the words, right?
Right.
It's the
Well,
words that have
that
changed
and-
over time.
Well, and it goes back to the original premise that was brought up in the first part. Dick, I mean, I think you did a pretty good job of echoing this in the beginning anyhow. You got to know what the pains are. Do the
So let me
pains
ask
change? Absolutely, the pains change.
So let me ask you. So say your target market again.
People that started their business because they thought it would give them independence and financial freedom.
So independence and financial freedom.
And they're
Mhm.
not getting it yet.
When
So
they're not
those
using
are
it.
gains.
Now, are there
So
other
those are
people?
gains.
Slow down,
Those are-
folks.
Are
Those
there
are
other-
gains,
One at a time.
and they're long term,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And most people, when they have short term problems, forget about their long term gains.
Right.
And so I get why you think you're going for the short-term pains, but in my experience, because I had a financial planning practice. My financial planning practice was all
you
about.
promised the same
Dino,
thing.
Dino, let her finish. Okay.
So I thought I was promising financial independence and financial freedom, and
I understand.
well,
And how long? And how long?
Dino,
And how long would
Dino,
it take somebody
please let
to
her
do
finish.
that? I'm asking her a question. How long? We had the same message. We had the same underlying message of what we delivered. What our brand promise is the same. Is there more than one way to get there? Is there more than one way to have that outcome?
absolutely.
Right.
Kathy, have you made your point? Do we understand what you're trying to say yet?
Well, let me ask the audience.
Well,
Yes
I'm
or
not
no?
sure.
Hands up. Well, so in my financial planning practice, I could go all day round and say, I want to help you with financial independence, freedom, retirement, whatever the words are for you. But if I didn't say that I'm working with physicians or I'm working with manufacturers that own this business, I was way too broad and trying to send that message to anybody and everybody. And it was a lot more work. So what I was advised was to say, focus on that one particular or two. And I had a hard time because I want to help everybody. And then I'm saying, do I only have to pick one? And they go, well, pick three, but stay with no more than three so you can get your variety, because I love variety. And so I had to pick, it was advised to pick three groups, but message to those people, because financial independence to them is going to be so different than what it's going to look like for somebody else. Somebody who has a minimalist lifestyle might not be willing to pay for my services. And do I want to market to them? No.
Dick?
Here's the bottom line of this whole opportunity. You need to know what your vision is, your future picture. You need to know what your mission is. And that's exactly why you're called to do what you're doing. And that's what you're going to be telling people.
Right.
And the third part of it, the three-legged stool, is your strategy. What are you going to do daily in order to take and so you can live your mission and achieve your vision? And Kathy, what you're asking is, yeah, you need to scale it down to a different situation. You know, our mission is helping people help themselves achieve their visions and goals. So what's that mean? Well, it means that most people, and I will take and use that, but we really market to a very small group who are willing to take and put time in to develop themselves. Because you can't develop your company until you develop yourself. That's all there is to it. So that little bitty set of words is what has to come through. And for our world here, Leadership Wrangler has been a marvelous tool because, quite frankly, everybody trusts cowboys. And everybody knows that cowboys always tell the truth. So that's a buy-in immediately.
Right.
Okay. Like Dino, years that came about, years, not over time.
Yeah.
Okay. Our original company was Leadership Vision 2020. And that was 10 years ago, and no one understood what 2020 meant. They thought it was vision. Well, it was, but we were looking down the road and they didn't get it. So
So just-
finding those words takes time.
Right.
So I didn't come up with this, but my new company name is going to be Results and Profits, because when
Aren't
I
they?
want to work with business owners, they want results and they want profits.
Right.
And so that will resonate with them.
I hope.
I didn't come up with that. The coach that I'm paying, he's brilliant with that kind of stuff. I had to give credit to him for that because I didn't come up with it. Even though I know in my Tony Robbins world, we were talking about results all the time.
Right.
But again, you're going to have to try it out to see if it does resonate. with you.
Resonate. Right.
I
Absolutely.
wouldn't go out and print my cards up right away.
No, exactly. That's why, but I'm not the
Good
marketing
thing they're
expert.
cheap.
And I'm not going to try to be the marketing expert. I'm going to go to the people who are the experts that can shorten the learning curve for me like 100-fold, because that time is valuable, because I can't do the other business owner hats at the same time.
I put on the group chat some questions you need to ask yourself. You might want to look at that and say, I wonder where in the heck he got those things.
Back to you, Dino.
Back, if I could back up a little bit to something Kathy was talking about that I've
And I got to run.
continued. You have to run, Dick?
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry. See y'all later. I got to
Have a
climb.
great day.
Thanks, Dick.
Come
Y'all
on
be
back
good.
next
Good seeing
week.
Thanks.
Hey, Dick.
You start, well, let's start, at least for me, with T. Harv Eker. But Tony Robbins is the same. But T. Harv Eker gives this whole wonderful story about the riches are in the niches, and you have to narrow down your who your target is to a very fine niche, and that's who you're going to target. And yeah, you'll pick up other people outside the niche, but that's who your target is. Then you have, T. Harv Eker has a whole lot more money than Cheryl Nicholson, who is a business, sales, leadership, motivational speaker here in Tampa. Okay.
I know Cheryl. Yep.
You know Cheryl, right? I figure I wanted to see if Dick knew Cheryl, but he left. She's like, no, forget that crap. She didn't use those words. Those are my words. Okay. But it's like, no, don't niche it down, One of the things I have found is that for every rule I'm told in the world of marketing or sales, there is another expert to tell me the exact opposite.
And this is where I will give this example. Paul, you said T. Harv Eker, and you said Cheryl Nicholson. And what we do with our thinking all the time is either oring. It's either this way or this way. And we forget about an and a both. So it could be that's an and a both. This is why it's A/B testing, right? It could, depending upon where you're at and what you're trying to do, Cheryl can accomplish what she's trying to do. But to say that her model works for everyone, it won't.
Right.
Exactly. So that's exactly my point. Thank you.
Well,
yes.
And that's why I try to tell people. I mean, a lot of times what I find is most people that are putting themselves out there as gurus, okay, what they've done is they've figured a system out that works for them. And that's what it is that they're promoting, and unfortunately what happens is it's the nail and the hammer thing, right? I got a hammer, everything's a nail now, right?
Oh.
And so, what we've done with things is said, okay, how did we develop what it is that helps us to get to that point and systematize how you figure these things out? Most, and to Kathy's point, earlier in terms of what it is that we're doing, and do we change our message? We don't change the underlying thread that goes through everything that we have. Is, you know, we offer a proven profit system that helps you to build a self-sustaining business, and having a self-sustaining business is what will give you independence and financial freedom. So that, I mean, it's long, but I mean, those are the connection points and the way we got to connect those dots for people. But it comes back to what was mentioned earlier, which is, what are those pains? Because people are going to gravitate, I have this pain, I got to do something about it. Okay. Well, I know that I'm business owners, lots of business owners with cash flow problems. Okay. I've reduced that number of people, you know, although many business owners have cash flow problems, and we're going to talk about those things and there are many ways to solve that problem. What we offer can help solve that problem. And my hope is that in that message, they're going to see the other pieces, because what it is that we're asking is just like what Dick said. It's hard to do what we've got. It's simple, but it's hard. Are you willing to do the hard work? If you're not willing to do the hard work, you're not going to get there. And so that message, and being able to put that message out to all the different little factions of small business owners that we have, and the problems that we have, the most of the problems that people have, especially, are symptomatic of something that is a root cause problem. We solve root cause problems. And so we have one solution that we offer, and if they use that, there's dozens of problems that are solved by using that problem. And so that's really what our message really is, and how we come across. It's just figuring out which of those pains are the pains that people are really struggling with at this point. Sure.
I have a question, Dino, and I'm trying to be helpful when I speak.
I understand.
Okay. So what just popped in my head, your passion is to help people to get their independence and financial freedom, right? And then what I heard part of your messaging is business sustainability. Those words, business sustainability and financial freedom, may connect with some people, and other people it might not connect. Right. And even the words business sustainability might resonate with a certain audience and not all businesses.
Right.
And so my question for you is, who does the words business sustainability resonate that you found? Okay, Renee. Okay.
Yep, for sure, because that's one thing. In fact, we were looking at a business just the other day that Sean and I just walked away from because it was a job. And Sean and I don't want a job. Sean and I want to be able to work on our business, not in our business.
Okay. And somewhere in Dino's messaging, I would say that business sustainability also got you to resonate with the words be on your business instead of in it. And but which one works, which one resonates more with people, right?
See, Kathy, I think what you're getting hung up on is the fact that you think that there's got to be a single message, one message. There's not. We have a multitude of different personas that we've identified, and we understand who those people are. And what resonates with those people is different based off of what it is that they're seeking. But ultimately, it comes back to what they really wanted was independent. They want independence and financial freedom. Now, the difference between what I did and what you did, okay, because we both can get them there, right? If someone owns a business, they can get there in 3 to 5 years. If somebody has a job, they're not going to get there in 3 to 5 years. It's going to take time, and they're going to have to save over time. And so the solutions get you there, but they get you there in different ways.
I agree. And just to be clear, I definitely do not either or think anymore. I used to do that a lot. So when it, and I didn't mean to put that you didn't have different personas out there,
Right.
but it's what the message, you asked me to review your stuff. I reviewed it, and when I was reading business sustainability, it resonated with me personally
Right.
less than some other phrases. So it's
Right.
great that you have, you know, some different personas that it will resonate with.
Right.
But just know that it's not all business owners.
No, I know it isn't. And that's why we have those conversations up. See, once you
My
get in the
original
door,
question was, who, besides Renee, who have you identified, what's your business persona that identifies the most that you've helped? Because you've mentioned in your customer base, who is that avatar that resonates with business sustainability the most? Describe them.
it isn't, because business self-sustainability isn't really something that's not the person we're looking for.
Okay, that was when I read through what I did so far, your messaging was a lot using
That's why it's all changing.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
I'm here to help, not criticize, okay?
Oh, I get it. I understand.
Are there other questions?
Cool.
Yeah, I'd like to see if Kathy could call me. I'd like to talk to you individually later. Is that possible?
Sure. What's your telephone number, John?
733-3452.
And that's 727, correct?
Yeah, that's a landline.
Okay, 727-733-3452.
Yeah.
I will give you a call when I have an opening, because right after this, I'm meeting with Dino.
Oh, okay. Well, good for you.
Okay.
And when did you give blood?
Oh, well, actually, I had a lab test this morning, but I give blood every 8 weeks.
Joan?
I figured out how to do it every 2 weeks.
Ah, well, good for you.
Joan?
40 gallons so far.
Joan, you had a question?
Excuse me. I was just wondering that the business launcher then, is that like a package that you're developing, Dino, that you're going to use with your clients, or is that a service that's available like through the library or something like that? I'm not sure. You're saying that's your package?
That's actually an online program that we are developing, in conjunction with FBII, and that's something that that's one of the programs that FBII is going to offer.
Right. We'll be offering that within the next couple of months, Joan.
I'm trying to remember. This is back, a couple years ago when I was working for the incubator, and I had a lot of conversations at that time with Elaine, who was there, and I had compiled all the what we had talked about in those conversations, about ideas for creating a system. I don't know if that's something that you're interested in seeing that. I'm pretty sure I turned over the documents. I don't know who has them, but I have them in online files. So
Joan,
if anybody
what would this
wants to
system
see
do?
any of that,
Joan, what would this system do?
honestly, I haven't looked at it for a long time. It was a program, and I think it's called Accelerate or something like that, and it was helping people move through building. I'm not sure if it was just for startups, but it was the process of building through that. Honestly, I'd have to look at the notes. I really haven't looked at it for a long time.
Right.
Because
but you were
once that was
suggesting
done, I just tucked it away.
Right, but you're suggesting it for some reason. So what is that?
Oh, I was just saying, if the incubator's in the process of developing this, Dino and the incubator, there might be something in there that would spark some ideas. That's all.
Got it. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
If I might, I was looking at Dick's questions that he posted here, and there was a question that when I went to Tony Robbins' Business Mastery event, that was asked that I don't see in his list, that my mind was blown when I heard the example for the question. The question is, what business do I really need to be in?
Right.
And so the example that they gave is, well, what business do you think Apple is in? Who's got a guess?
Technology and customer
Computer.
service.
Computers.
Communication.
Communications, computers, what?
Solving problems.
This technology.
Okay, so this is what was shared as the answer to that, and I had to get my notebook out. That's why I left my screen, because I wanted to say it correctly. Apple is in the business of connecting people to their passions, movies, music, and pictures.
Yep.
That's
That's what they want to
way
think. That's
different
okay.
than, yeah, that's what they're about, which is way different. That's the business that they need to be in, and so that's what they do, and that's what kind of drives them, which they're not in the computer business, and they're not in the, I think maybe Joan was closest because it's communicating, but it's actually, they said connecting, right? Connecting with those things that people love, right? I just thought
that's what I meant.
Yeah. So
I find that very interesting. I find that very interesting because nobody views them that way.
Because it's lack of awareness. They went very deep. This is that psychology piece that Dina was talking about.
Yeah.
At the surface level, people don't think that deeply. But
if you're coming from a marketing perspective, people don't understand their mission then. From a marketing perspective, right?
They understand their mission though.
Right, that's the most important thing for them. But when we're talking about the marketing, because this presentation was about marketing, they're not hitting the mark very well in their marketing.
Well, then for all those people who own Macs and Apple iPhones and the music and iPods and the Apple Store and all of that thing, I think they're doing it by their customer. It's just not what the consumer would think of.
Right.
Consumer doesn't think, I'm using this to connect with people, but they know that that's what they're using these things for.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
They were the first ones. They were the
and
first
there's
ones to come out with the music, the little thing for music, right? So I guess they kind of have lived that.
Well, there's
As much as we want to say no.
pieces. There's two pieces to that. What you defined as a company, what is it that they do, as opposed to the way that the market sees them. So,
Well,
and again, if that's what it was that their message was, would people gravitate towards them? Because that doesn't make any sense. It's not what I want.
But the question that they were answering, because they used to think they were in the computer business, they used to
Right.
think they were in this, delivering what I want to deliver to these people. The
Right.
question was, what business do I really need to
You
be
mean,
in?
right. Well, and that's-
Total mind shift.
But that's the other piece of what it is, and my message is the same way. I mean, that's why self-sustainability is a vehicle to get you to independence and financial freedom. That's why I don't resonate around the self-sustainability factor, you know. And self-sustainability really it's a stage of the growth model. So I try to stay away from that conversation. Doesn't normally come up in my messaging until 3 steps into the messaging. And it may be even farther depending on how that person comes to me because of what message actually resonated with them. So that's why I said, you know, I mean, I think the reason Michael asked me to do a presentation on messaging was because that's what we're in the middle of. Like I said, I've been working on that for 3 weeks. I'm nowhere close to being done with that. I'd be lucky if I'd be done with that by the end of the year. There's that much that needs to be changed as a result of, you know, what's that common thread that runs through everything. But these people don't care about it from that perspective. They care about it from this perspective. So I got to rewrite it, you know. So, you know, what are each pain that we have, the message has to be written differently for each of those things.
Well, and the pain that Apple solves is connecting people to other people, or the technology is the vehicle, right?
But if you come back to the value proposition thing that I had on there were 3 pieces to that, right? There's the pain, the gain, and the offering. Okay. Well, my offering may solve many different pains, okay, and give you and provide you many different gains. So if there's 12, you know, six pains that and 12, that's 12 messages that I need to talk about. 12 different messages that have to tie how that offering helps me to achieve those outcomes. So because I offer one thing, and I don't offer one thing, I offer many different things or many different pieces that get you to that one thing at the end as well. And that's what makes, you know, that's what makes it very complicated in terms of coming up with that messaging.
Well, and that brings up a point. I'm reading this book that was gifted to me, and it's downstairs. Otherwise, I would show it to everybody. But it's The CEO's Mindset is the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
And in it, I just read it this morning. That's why it's so fresh. Is if you are new in business, or even longer term in business, and you're not where you really want to be, and you offer a lot of things, scale it back and do one really, 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 really well, so you build up enough money so that you can go to your next one. But if you try to do too many, it's you get scattered. So you got to do one thing and kill it, crush it, so you have enough money to get to your next thing. I thought that was like laser target. Good thing I read this morning.
In terms of messaging, it sounds like that there might be a fundamental purpose of your business, but that your messaging has got to be more discreet than that.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
Super. Well, I want to thank everybody for showing up. This was good. So,
And
It was a
I
good
want to
conversation.
salute everybody to the term that I learned in my coaching from my trainers was receive everything from somebody like a soccer ball. You're just gonna, receive it and pass it back whatever way you can. Just don't take it personally. That was a hard one for me.
okay.
I wanted to mention, this is just sort of carryover from last week, to Kathy. This week I've been going through my computer files. I still have to go through my physical files, trying to find, digging out all my possible writing samples. I still have to go through that, but I'm working on it. I haven't forgotten, and I'm excited about it. So that's one of the things I'm actively doing. It just is going to take a little time to get there.
Way to take action. And Paul, I've got to circle back with you because now there's more stuff that I thought it was just straight, but now I'm getting more feedback. So
I just want to mention, Elizabeth, come on back and visit us again. Okay.
Yeah.
We do different things every week.
Thank you so much for having me. I really did enjoy this presentation. Getting messaging out to my clients is something that I definitely struggle with. So it's definitely helpful to see different ideas.
I'm sorry, I missed what kind of business you have.
I'm a hairstylist. I work with Britt Bishop at
Oh,
Salon
okay.
Giuliani.
Got it. Awesome. We haven't heard from Carl. He's been quiet the whole time, and Stephen barely spoke, and
Just taking it all
Evelyn,
in.
Me too.
Taking it all in,
Living the dream.
Elizabeth, and I'm sorry, no, Elizabeth, Evelyn. Evelyn's on mute the whole time too.
I'm on mute. I'm on mute. Hi, everybody. I missed you. I'm sorry I'm so late. I've just had too much going on business-wise, so this is good stuff. I get to review this later and see what Dino's. I was upset about missing Dino's presentation this morning. Dino, I'm sure you did an awesome job.
I hope so. Thank you.
Michael, if I want to have a brief conversation with you offline, on the phone or something, is that a possibility?
Of course.
How do I
sent you an
reach
email.
you?
Right, 410-960-3485.
3485?
That is correct. Or you
Okay.
can send me an email at michael@broom.net. That's so that if I forget my name, I just look at my email address.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Michael, does the incubator, do they have a list of people with that information on it? I'd like to be able to call some people sometimes, but I just don't have anything available. Well, I can pester.
Maybe we need a directory on the website,
Well,
like a directory.
Yeah.
right, I can talk to the board about doing a directory. I don't know. I know we've got email addresses. I don't know that we have a lot of phone numbers. Evelyn, have you any thoughts about that?
Well, I think having a directory on the website just might be a challenge with getting permission to post that stuff publicly. For some people, they may not want to be automatically put on the directory just for the simple, spam and all that other stuff that happens when that information's up. But I don't know.
Yeah, RGA has a directory.
I'm sorry?
RGA, which is a humongous networking organization,
well,
they have an online directory of businesses. You choose if you want to be on it.
Sure.
if you want to be on it, you can, and if you start spamming people and you get reported, you're kicked out of the group.
Yeah.
We will discuss the possibility and make a decision. Yeah. Anybody else before we go? Got a final word here.
I always enjoy coming to this meeting.
Well, good. Continue to come, John, please.
Yes.
Did you sell your car yet?
No?
No.
Want to buy it?
Well,
you
Kathy,
sent
I
me-
know you're going to meet with John on the phone, but if you get an opportunity to go to his house, his living room view is just incredible. I've got a view right out into the ocean.
Well, I'll
Amazing.
have to see if I get that. I'm lucky enough to get that invite like you.
You, a pretty girl like you might get it, but I'd have to have my wife here.
Okay,
My
folks,
husband would probably appreciate that too.
see you next week.
Thank you,
See you next
Dino.
week.
Good. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thanks, everybody.